0 out of 10. They didn't play the
Spiderman, a Spiderman does whatever a spider can.
They didn't have the They didn't star the
FGHIJKLMNOP.
They did have Comic Sans though, so maybe it was all worth it in the end. Here's how to enjoy. Spiderman International is a story about post-production getting sick of the director and proving that you don't have to always fix it in post. I actually watched this film the day after coming back from a class holiday, so I really
feel like Batman. Could not look or feel more Batman.
I actually had to sit on this review for a while. I saw another review by High Top Films, link in the description, and it really threw me through a loop. He brought up some great points in his video, but after sitting on them, I don't agree. I'm not going to frame my review around his points, but I will be making mention to them throughout the video. Where to begin but the beginning? After how emotional Endgame was, it was kind of refreshing to see everything in a more humorous light. I understand that you might think that the whole plot of Endgame was being downplayed as a joke in this film, but I disagree when I think about it in universe. The general public didn't see what we saw. They didn't see every hero come together and have the fight for their lives. They didn't see Tony sacrifice himself. Hell, most of the characters in this film were snapped initially. They didn't live through the aftermath. I found it really interesting to see a completely different side of the snap, a more ground level one. It was really funny seeing the snap just blip back into existence. Having the characters adapt to people who had grown up whilst they were gone was a little underexplored, but still a nice detail to throw in. And Aunt May aiding the homeless from the snap with fundraisers was also great. It's always been these little scenes that make the MCU special, and they're not absent here. I also really loved Peter's arc in this film. Spider-Man has always been about responsibility, and I feel that this film explored it in an interesting way. Peter wants to be a normal guy and get the girl, but
with great power comes great responsibility.
He's given the responsibility by Tony to be the next Iron Man, but ultimately gives it away. Peter has to accept the responsibility he's given, be it his choice or not. That's what Spider-Man is all about. 8 months ago, this kid was riding Thor's hammer with the Infinity Gauntlet against the biggest threat in the universe right after coming back to life and then having to watch his mentor die right in front of him. We see that Peter is still grieving Tony. Honestly, I can't blame him for wanting a break from the hero life for a bit. But again, it ties back to that theme of responsibility, and I really liked it. But what is a good hero without a good villain? Spoilers ahead, skip to this time if you don't want to hear them. Mysterio was a damn good villain. His illusions were a visual delight, rivaling some of the craziest shit from Spider-Verse. He was charming, witty, and wonderfully deceiving. His reveal, can I even call it that? Like, it's Mysterio. He's as predictable as being evil as Kevin Spacey. Still, the reveal scene was really nice. I love the fake bar, and seeing how everyone on the team tied into the MCU was another one of those touches I love. Hearing
Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a box of scraps
in 2019 was something I didn't know I needed in life. Man, before we go back into spoiler-free territory, can we just talk about those illusion scenes? I was getting crazy Spider-Verse vibes, and they were not misplaced. Honestly, by the end of the film, I was questioning everything I saw, and it was wonderful. Doctor Strange has similar mind-bending visuals, but they were never used to this effect. If this film has one thing that makes it stand out from the rest of the MCU roster, it's the illusion scenes. They were a wonderful display of Mysterio's power, and having them tie into MCU tech was actually really cool. After Endgame, the aim of the game for the MCU is to have stories take place in two main settings. And having Mysterio's powers not be magic was a great way to keep the story grounded. And honestly, if this is what is in store for us in the Earth-centric stories, count me in. After all the craziness of the past few years, I think we could really use some down-to-earth stories in the MCU. But Spider-Man isn't down-to-earth dum-dum. He's always swinging about off the ground, and this movie is no different. The action scenes here were really enjoyable. It was a nice development having Peter play a supporting role to Mysterio, only to progress into working solo for the third act. As good as Spidey is in this movie though, the supporting cast was firing on all cylinders. You had Happy, Not MJ, Flash Gordon, Ned, Discount Mr. Clark, and Fake News. The kids bounce well off the kids, the teachers bounce well off the kids, and the super people bounce well off Syndrome. It's like a big old bounce house of character interactions. That's like 1,000 words of good stuff. Now for the not so good stuff. I was going to mention all of the Iron Man stuff in this film and how the movie could be called Iron Man 4 and it would have been hilarious, but it didn't bother me. I didn't like that everyone was telling Spidey he had to be the next Iron Man, because Iron Man is not Spidey. What I did like though was how Tony Stark played into Spider-Man's responsibility in this film. Everything to do with responsibility comes from Tony. You could almost say he's very similar to a certain someone. For real though, the glasses come from Tony, the suits come from Tony, the syndrome came from Mr. Incredible, Tony. Even the motivation came from Tony back in Endgame. I feel that the people that are claiming this is an Iron Man movie aren't taking the MCU as a whole, when, it is. Spidey in the MCU has always been under Tony, back in Civil War, and Homecoming, and Infinity War, and Endgame, and guess what? What films has Spidey appeared in? Uno, dos, tres, cuatro. Okay, enough shifting the blame. There was some real stuff that bothered me. Minor spoilers ahead, again, no details though. Again, skip to this time for the final verdict. I found the whole thing with Ned kind of pointless. It was a funny joke, but it was pretty dumb in the grand scheme of things. Those teachers were not asking for any paperwork. Their science trip got hijacked and they were like, yo, no problem, let's just take all these high school children to random countries. I'm sure nobody at all will mind. Again, minor nitpicks. It was like two tiny little things. I really, really love this movie. Alright, let's break out the list. You got the good Spider-Man films. Then you got the real good ones. And then you enter the masterpiece zone. If you haven't watched these, shame on you. Then you got the big boys. Now, I'm going to go right ahead and slap Far From Home up there with the big boys. It's seriously that good. And then, of course, you have Spider-Man does whatever Film of the Year. Film of the Year. Any size, catches thieves, just like flies, look out. Here comes the Spider-Man. For real, though, the best way to enjoy this movie is for the characters. It's a much-needed breather after Endgame. Everyone is having fun and getting on. There's plenty of laughs and some great twists. If you like the MCU or just Spider-Man, you'll have fun with this movie. And if you don't, I think Far From Home fits as a really great coming-of-age story. Nothing like taking a month off when you've only got 35 subscribers, eh? I needed to take some time to kind of step back and think about where I wanted to go with this channel. So you'll see some new thumbnails, some new kind of bits and pieces. I don't really know where it's going to go. Expect all my catch-up movie reviews like I promised in the Toy Story video. So expect things like Stranger Things, Lion King, Fast and Furious. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, though, will be next week. That will be as I see the film because, honestly, I'm absolutely super mega excited for that film. I cannot wait. And hopefully by September, I will have caught up with all my movies and I can just keep going when I start school again. Other than that, thanks for sticking with me. I hope that I can continue to grow. And I will see you in the next review or video essay. And I will see you in the next video. It might be a video essay. I have some video essay ideas. Man, I've never riffed an end card before. It's usually scripted, but I like this.